Let's build that OG badass anime protagonist with the big ass sword, Guts from Berserk. Because this is D&D Builds, where we have an outlet to make all sorts of ridiculous Dungeons & Dragons characters and stop driving the people in our lives insane with them. When I think of characters with an unreasonably massive sword, I think of Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII and Guts from Berserk. So we're going to go ahead and utilize that with this build. First things first, we got to pick a race, and that's going to be pretty easy. We're just going to go with a variant human, and that allows us to pick a feat. And it should be absolutely no surprise that the feat we're going to pick here is Great Weapon Master. This feat comes with two very important benefits, the first of which being on your turn when you score a critical hit with a melee weapon or reduce a creature to 0 hit points with a melee weapon, you can make one additional melee weapon attack as a bonus action. And the other much more brutal feature included in this feat is before you make a melee weapon attack with a heavy weapon that you're proficient with, you can choose to take a -5 penalty to the attack roll or your accuracy, and if that attack still hits, you add +10 to the damage, which is a huge boost. You also get to choose one skill when you choose a variant human, so we're just going to grab Intimidation, because if you're walking around with a big ass sword, that's pretty intimidating. Then we got to choose a background, and Guts is a well-known mercenary, so we're going to choose the background Mercenary Veteran. This gives us skill proficiencies in Athletics and Persuasion, as well as land vehicles and one type of gaming set. Then when it comes to some stats, I really want to focus on his physical capabilities, so using Point Buy from the player's handbook, we're going to put 15 points into strength and then boost it up by 1 point thanks to being a variant human, bringing it to 16. Then we're going to take our dexterity, bring it to 14, making it very respectable, and then take our constitution, also bring it to 15, and give it another +1 from our human variant, bringing it to 16, leaving us with very few points left over, so we're going to have to dump intelligence and charisma, and I'm going to save those last 2 points we have left over for our wisdom, bringing it to 10. I don't think he's particularly dumb or unwise or anything like that. I just really want to focus in on those physical capabilities. Now it's time to choose a starting class. Guts is known to have lived in a mercenary camp where he was forced to learn to use full-size weapons even from a very young age. This is why he's so used to using a massive sword, but he's still proficient with tons of different weapons. The other notable things that Guts has as far as equipment are his massive sword, obviously. His left arm actually gets replaced in a particular story arc by a prosthetic arm, but we'll try to figure that one out a little later. And then finally, Guts has a powerful set of armor called Berserker armor. It's ancient and cursed, but it allows him to overcome certain limitations. Only issue is that it does damage his body at the same time. So with all of that in mind, I want to start this build the same way Guts' life started, by training very intensely. And if you're going to work mostly on physical training, we're going to go with a fighter. At first level of fighter, you get 2 skills, so we're going to grab Perception because that's useful in pretty much every D&D campaign, as well as Insight just because we don't have a lot of other choices, and I guess that fits best. Also at first level of fighter, you get proficiency in all armor, shields, simple weapons, martial weapons, and you get proficiency in saving throws for strength and constitution. You also get to choose some starting equipment, so obviously we're going to pick up a great sword, and we're going to focus mostly on medium armor, because most of the time Guts has his head and most of his arms exposed, so it feels more like medium armor than anything like heavy armor. Then at first level of fighter, you get to choose a fighting style, and it should be no surprise that we're going to choose Great Weapon Fighting. So if you roll a 1 or a 2 on the damage die for any attack you make with a melee weapon that you are wielding with 2 hands, you can re-roll that die, but you have to use the new roll, even if it's a 1 or a 2. Additionally, at first level, you get Second Wind. So on your turn, you can use a bonus action to regain hit points equal to 1d10 plus your fighter level, but you can only use this once per short or long rest. Then at second level of fighter, you get Action Surge, so you can take an entire extra action on your turn, but you can do this also once every short or long rest. Then at third level of fighter, you get to choose a martial archetype, and Guts is well trained and knows plenty of battle strategies, so we're going to go with a Battle Master. When you choose this subclass at third level, you get Combat Superiority, so you learn a special set of maneuvers. You get to learn 3 maneuvers at this level, but you learn additional maneuvers as you level up in this class. Using maneuvers allows you to spend superiority dice. So right now you have 4 superiority dice, which are currently D8s, but those also upgrade as you level up in this class. And I think some of the most useful maneuvers for Guts to learn are going to be trip attack, so you can sweep the leg, and if you manage to succeed on tripping that enemy, that's going to give you advantage on additional attacks because attacking a prone enemy with a melee weapon gives you advantage. Additionally, when you use this maneuver, you get to add the superiority die to the attack damage. Then I really want to make use of that big ass sword, so we're also going to grab sweeping attack, allowing you to attack 2 creatures instead of just 1. As long as they're right next to each other, you can sweep that giant sword through both of them. And then, just to make sure we have some defensive capabilities, we're going to go with parry. So if a creature's trying to attack you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to expend one of your superiority dice to reduce the damage by the number you roll on the superiority die, plus your dexterity modifier. Then at 4th level of fighter, you get an ability score improvement, so we're going to boost up our strength by 2 points because that's what Guts is known for. And then at 5th level of fighter, we get extra attack, which is important for absolutely any type of melee combat. Then at 6th level of fighter, we get another ability score improvement because fighters get the most ability score improvements out of any class in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So we're going to boost up our strength by 2 more points, maxing it out and making a really strong Guts. Then at 7th level of fighter, we get another feature from being a battle master, know your enemy. So if you spend at least 1 minute observing or interacting with a creature outside of combat, you can learn certain information about their capabilities, at least compared to your own. So your dungeon master can tell you whether the creature is equal to, superior, or inferior to you regarding 2 characteristics of your choice, whether it's strength, dexterity, constitution, armor class, current hit points, total class levels, or fighter levels if it has any. Then additionally at this level you get to learn 2 more maneuvers and you get 1 more superiority die to use. So now you can use 5 dice per short or long rest. So one of the other maneuvers I would definitely learn because it was definitely used against you is disarming attack. So you can expend 1 superiority die to attempt to disarm a target, forcing it to drop 1 item that it's holding. You add the superiority die to the attack's damage and the target has to make a strength saving throw. If it fails, it drops the object and lands at its feet. So you can use an item interaction to pick it up or kick it away or whatever you want to do with it. The other maneuver I would love to pick is Commander's Strike, but that's really only useful if you happen to have a rogue in the party, because you have to give up one of your own attacks and use a bonus action to direct one of your companions to strike, and that strike has to really be worth it in order to give up all of that. So if they don't have the option to deal sneak attack damage, it's not worth taking. So instead, we're going to use your brute strength and push around your enemy with pushing attack. You get to add your superiority die to the attack's damage, and the enemy has to make a strength saving throw or be pushed 15 feet away. Then at 8th level fighter, we get another ability score improvement, and I actually really want to utilize the armor the best we can since I do want to stick with medium armor. So we're going to grab Medium Armor Master. This makes it so no matter what type of medium armor you're wearing, it doesn't impose disadvantage on your stealth checks, although you're not going to be worrying about that too much anyways. But also when you're wearing medium armor, you can now have +3 to your armor class instead of just +2 from your dexterity modifier, which we'll worry about once we can get +3 in our dex. Then at 9th level of fighter, we get Indomitable, allowing us to re-roll a saving throw once per long rest. Then at 10th level of fighter, we get another feature from being a battle master, Improved Combat Superiority. So now our superiority dice turn into D10s instead of D8s, allowing us to really use those maneuvers a little bit better. And speaking of those maneuvers, you get to choose 2 more at this level. So we'll make use of the massiveness of that sword and grab Lunging Attack. So you can expend a superiority die so you can increase your reach by 5 feet for 1 attack. And if you hit, you deal some extra damage equal to that superiority dice. And the other maneuver I would grab is Menacing Attack, because frankly, it's pretty damn intimidating to go up against Guts. So when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend 1 superiority die to attempt to frighten the target. You add the superiority die to the attack's damage, and the target must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, it's frightened until the end of your next turn, making it so it wants to run away from you, it can't get any closer to you, and it does everything at disadvantage as long as you're within its line of sight. Then at 11th level of fighter, we get another extra attack, allowing us to attack twice as an action 4 times if we use our action surge, and 1 more time if we happen to crit or kill a creature thanks to our Great Weapon Master feat. Then at 12th level of fighter we get another ability score improvement, so I want to go ahead and boost up that dexterity by 2 points so we can make use of that medium armor master that we picked up last time. Then at 13th level I actually want to do a multi-class. Guts is known for overcoming his own physical limitations, and there's one good way to do that by multi-classing into Barbarian. When you jump into Barbarian you get access to Rage. Rage is what's going to allow us to overcome those limitations, because it'll give us advantage on all strength checks and strength saving throws when you're in Rage, as well as resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Finally, when you make a weapon attack that uses your strength, you can deal additional damage with the strike, granting us a +2. So if we're also utilizing the Great Weapon Master feat, that's a total of +12 just from bonus damage, not to mention the additional +5 that we have from our strength, bringing us to a massive +17 per strike. Granted, it does hurt our accuracy a bit, but that's okay because we're going to skip right over the unarmored defense stuff because we are going to be focusing on wearing that medium armor and jump into the 2nd level Barbarian feature, Reckless Attack. So you don't have to worry quite as much about that -5 you're getting because this feature allows all of your attacks on a turn to be made at advantage. The only downside is that when you do this, all melee attacks against you are also at advantage. But who cares, because you're going to be tearing through your enemies like nothing. Additionally, at 2nd level you get access to Danger Sense, giving you an uncanny sense to be able to dodge away from certain traps and spells, giving you advantage on dexterity saving throws. Then at 3rd level of Barbarian, we get to choose a Primal Path, also known as a subclass. And I was very torn about which subclass to go with. Guts' Berserker armor is known to be kind of a cursed armor, and one of the worst subclasses for barbarians is something called a Battle Rager that gives them a special kind of spiked armor that is frankly pretty garbage. But it'll really just kind of suck, and we don't really utilize the spiked portion of that armor, which would allow you to deal a D4 as a bonus action, and we want to use that bonus action for something a bit better. So we're going to jump into the namesake of the anime and manga, Berserk, with a Berserker Barbarian. You are wearing Berserk armor, and that armor is known to take a physical toll on you. And there's a feature right when you choose a Berserker called Frenzy. So when you go into a Frenzy while you're raging, you can always make an additional attack as a bonus action. The only downside is that when your rage ends, you suffer a level of exhaustion. Frankly, I would only use this when you really need to absolutely make additional attacks as bonus actions, because you already get a chance to do so anytime you crit or kill an enemy thanks to your Great Weapon Master feat. So this is just in a very dire situation, just like that Berserk armor, because exhaustion is probably one of the most dangerous things to deal with in D&D. It's hard to get rid of unless you can just sleep it off, and it really hurts your character until you can get rid of that level of exhaustion. Now that we've managed to deal with our Berserk armor, and we've thrown in plenty of ideas around our giant ass sword, although later in the story you do get a particular sword called the Dragon Slayer, which does get a little evil after a certain amount of time, but that's kind of its own thing, so I'm sure you might be able to come across something like that in your adventures in D&D. So rather than worry about any of that stuff, we're just going to jump back over to Fighter. And at 13th level of Fighter and 16th level overall, we get another use of Indomitable per long rest, and then at 14th level of Fighter, we get another ability score improvement. And we don't care as much about our Constitution score since we're not using anything from unarmored defense with focusing on our medium armor, but we do want to make sure we have plenty of health to use, so we're going to grab the feat Tough. This gives us an additional 2 hit points per level of this overall character. Then at 15th level of Fighter, we get another feature from being a Battle Master, Relentless. So when you roll initiative and you have no superiority dice left, you regain 1 superiority die. And at this level you get 1 more superiority dice to use per short or long rest, bringing you to a total of 6, and you get to choose 2 more maneuvers. And while I was tempted to ignore the maneuver Precision Attack because you already have Reckless Attack, I really want to make sure you can hit. So we're going to take Precision Attack, giving you additional accuracy to help mitigate absolutely any chances of missing from that Great Weapon Master feat. And then the other maneuver I would definitely grab is Riposte. So when a creature misses you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to expend 1 superiority die to make a melee weapon attack against the creature. And if you hit, you can add the superiority die to the damage. Meaning that now, When you're in a rage, you're dealing plus 17 to any attack. You can also take Action Surge to attack a total of 4 times as your actions, and if you crit, kill a creature, or use your Frenzy, you can get an additional attack as your bonus action, bringing you to 5 attacks, and if a creature tries to attack you and misses, you can make an additional attack against them, bringing you to 6 attacks with a great weapon, meaning you can deal up to 184 damage in a single round with your superiority dice and max dice everywhere else. And speaking of making a creature miss, at 16th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement, and I want to try and make sure you're a little harder to hit. We already have plenty of health from tough. We already boosted up our armor class a little bit by taking medium armor master and having +3 to our dexterity. So we're going to pick up the feat Fighting Initiate, allowing us to choose one more fighting style, and then we're going to grab defense, boosting our armor class by 1 point. So if you happen to have half plate, which is the highest level medium armor that you can have 15 plus your dexterity modifier, which is 3 thanks to your medium armor master, bringing you to 18, and then the defense fighting style brings you to an armor class of 19, making you pretty decently hard to hit. So that riposte is gonna definitely come in handy. Then at 17th level of fighter and 20th level overall, you get 1 more use of Action Surge per short or long rest, and 1 more use of Indomitable per long rest, making you a pretty undeniable powerhouse on the battlefield. I think we covered pretty much all the main features of Guts. The only thing we really missed out on is his prosthetic arm, so you're just going to have to make sure you get in touch with an artificer who might be able to build you arcane propulsion armor, which allows you to replace a missing limb if you need to, while also giving some other unique benefits, like being able to punch somebody for 1d8 force damage, and shoot out the arm for up to 20 feet or 60 feet at long range, and then comes right back. It's kind of a weird one, and it also happens to increase your walking speed by 5 feet, even if it's reattaching an arm and not a foot. But whatever, it's fun to play around with. This build was part of a vote that I put up on my Patreon to see what some of the first builds of the year should be. And if you want additional say on what I build next, or if you want the character sheets for this build or any of my other builds, feel free to check out my Patreon, linked in the description down below. Just like the awesome Caleb Roan, the Dino21, Salvador, and Yaksha Senpai. Or going above and beyond that are my Dungeon Master level patrons, Benjamin, Daniel Galvin, Devin Happy, Eric Wade, GameStake, Michael, Ramirtis Games, and Tristan Bennett, who I actually play D&D with. And then going above and beyond absolutely all of that is my god tier level patron, Kilo Kilo. I cannot thank him enough. He's an absolute badass and he helps my channel in so many ways. But even if you can't join our Patreon, feel free to let me know what builds you want to see in the future in the comments down below, because I still read through as many comments as possible, and that's where I get the ideas for most of my builds, even if my patrons are the ones voting on them pretty often. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button, and I'll be here hoping to roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you want to swing one big ass sword and just cut through your enemies like Guts from Berserk.